Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third in our series of talks linked to mobile money and payment solutions in Myanmar. I'm Josephine Price from Anthem Asia. I'm also the chair of the Myanmar Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. Before I hand over to Jeff from NextLab, who really needs no introduction, I wanted to cover just a few points. First of all, a big thank you to our panelists today for making their time available to talk to members of the association. Also, a few words and a big thank you to Juliet and Kun for organizing this. And this has been a very popular event that we've actually had to control the numbers on. A few words about Myanmar Private Equity Association. We are dedicated to serving the investment industry in Myanmar, which I think coming out of COVID is going to play a very, very important role. Our members include all of the major private equity firms in Myanmar and the professional services firms linked to our industry. And we are trying to build up closer relationships with the corporate world, which is why having panelists from the top payment solution providers in Myanmar is extremely good to develop the investment industry. Over the past few weeks, our members and the wider investment community have were able to access a virtual networking event, which was very popular. And so we're going to be repeating that. And we also had a useful presentation on talent retention. So in our short history, we've done 6 trainings, 7 networking events, 10 webinars, and we've also been supporting our members' external events. In the next couple of weeks, we've got another virtual networking event, probably in the middle of October. We'll have a networking event between ourselves and the industry association. We're going to have a knowledge sharing program with Pandia and our AGM in November. We're also working on a deal share platform. So all of this we'll be rolling out. And we're linking our members to the wider Asian investment community. There are 2 big events in private equity in Asia coming up soon. There's Super Return in Hong Kong, which is one of the premier conferences. We've arranged for a discount for our members, and I think a few of the members will be actually speaking there. There's also the Deal Street Asia, which is more VC summit happening in November. Again, a couple of our members are speaking, and we've arranged for a discount. We've got venture capital training sessions coming up where we've arranged again for discounts. All of these are on the website. And I think this demonstrates why membership is worth it. And we would invite people to approach Juliet and Kun if they're interested in membership. If you've got any ideas for events for the association, please approach us. I'm sure I've said enough, and you're here not to listen to me, but to learn about online payment solutions. So I will now hand over to Jeff.
Thank you, Josephine, and good to have you back to give these opening speeches. Amazing, thank you. And good morning, audience. It's good to have you all back. I see familiar names that also joined the previous 3 panels that we have hosted. Just as a background, this is going to be the last live panel, unfortunately. I would love to do more, but we basically covered quite a lot. However, in the future, the association will also be hosting similar interesting events, so please do stay tuned. So in the first iteration of the event, we had a conversation between the regulator as well as some of the merchants and covering the consumer perspective, etc. In the second panel, we had a discussion with telco-led payment players, and in the third panel, we had a discussion with bank-led payment players. So in the last panel, we're going to have a discussion around payment processing, remittance, etc., etc. And I'm very, very honored to be able to host this panel for all of you. And good morning, all the panelists. So we have Gopi Nain from TCTP here, Rosalinda from MPU, Jess from OK Dollar, and Maemu from Ongo. So it's going to be a great panel. I'm very much looking forward to the discussion, guys. All right, so let me just start with Gopi Nain. He's the first on this video call. So Gopi Nain, yesterday there was an announcement actually that one of your subsidiaries, EME, raised $7 million, 7-digit in terms of fundraising, right? And congratulations on that. 2C2B has been a success story in the Southeast Asia, not just Myanmar, but Southeast Asia financial landscape as a payment processor. But what's interesting to me is that in Myanmar, you're going beyond just being a payment processor, with, of course, the introduction of services like Near-Me, which recently had a nice round of funding, and also your recent collaboration with Mandalay Municipal MCTC, Jeranamo Bank to launch Mandalay Smart Pay. So, what are the opportunities that you're seeing that led to launching some of these services that are going beyond a traditional payment processing method?
Okay, thanks, Ko Yamyami. Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are safe and well. Before we go to the discussion, I would like to thanks to the Myanmar Private Equity and Venture Capital Association to organize this webinar series, because I think it is a very impact digital payments and online payment is a sectors that we want to boost in Myanmar, and so we want to boost that in any possible way. So today's discussion would be the effective methods to boost that online payments. So let's go back to C2B and Near-Me. So we started 2C2B Myanmar in 2013. So actually we are the #9 office in Southeast Asia. So we have started those solutions in other countries as well. So Near-Me, even though we started Near-Me in other countries, we already have that kind of partnerships, right? Because we are the payment processor. So in order to provide digital payments and online transactions to our merchants and to the end customers, we need the infrastructures ready to do the payment transaction. So when we came in, our first target is to promote online transactions and digital payments. So that's why we provide international card acceptance in Myanmar, and then we partner with local card schemes, MPU, to promote the e-commerce transaction for the MPU card holders, and also at the same time for those customers who doesn't have the bank accounts or MPU cards, we still need to provide the digital payments. We still need to offer them the online payments. So that's why we are looking for the agent networks infrastructure in Myanmar. Unfortunately, at the time, we don't have any partners that we can we partner to provide that kind of service. That's why we started Near-Me. So Near-Me, we started
I think there are some issues with the mic. There's this buzzing noise that's happening.
Okay. Let me try to find.
Sure. That will be amazing.
Thank you. Sorry, some technical issues. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's much better. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry. We couldn't find the agents networks in Myanmar. That's why we started Near-Me, and then Near-Me help moving to the digitalization and online payments start from the beginning. So we have a lot of challenges when we start Near-Me. Near-Me team has to change the customer habit. So we start with like customer at the time when we start 2015, customer are still familiar with scratch cards and e-pin. So nowadays the customer behavior has changed to like everybody's happy to buy Teco e-loads, happy to pay the bills at the stores. So that kind of benefits that Near-Me bring in. And then also nowadays, especially just before COVID, Near-Me is start as e-payments acceptance. at the stores, right? So Near Me provide digital services and e-payment acceptance at the SME and mom and pop stores. So those SME stores can provide digital services to their customer and also accept e-payments like mobile payments, mobile wallet payments. So currently Near Me partner with a lot of mobile payments partners. So the mobile payment QR can be used at the Near Me enable shop to buy the physical goods. Right, so that is a big steps on changing customer behavior. So once the customer enjoying the taste of paying with digital wallet at the convenience store or Near Me store, they don't want to go back to cash because it is very convenient. And then for the SME and mom and pop store as well, because they don't need to manage the cash, there's no change, they don't need to do any change. So that is a benefits that Near Me bring in. So, but in other countries, we are already doing that with other partners. So in Thailand, we are working with like Tesco Lodex, BC. So that kind of solution is already there. So in Myanmar, the infrastructure was not there. So that's why we started in Myanmar. So that is about Near Me. So the future plan for the Near Me is going to expand, right? As you've seen in the news. So we're going to offer that to a lot of mom and pop shops, retail stores. So the customer behavior will change. That is what we are hoping to push for. And yeah, that is what we're aiming for. For MSP, actually, it is owned by Mandalay City Development Council and then Yaranabong Bank. And then we do C2B as a technical vendors because we have the solution, that kind of solution in other countries as well. Because recently in Thailand, we launched Visit Thailand card associated with rich, super rich. So that is a secure and effective card for the tourists coming to the Thailand. So where they can enjoy the digital payments to their during their stay in Thailand. So it is a prepaid travel card actually, but there are a lot of goodies like discounts and offer that they can enjoy using that cards. So that the solution is already there. So one, the MCTC and general banks wants to offer that digital payment system to their citizens, so like Mandalay citizens, because Mandalay is a smart city, so they want to enjoy the smart way of payment for their citizens. So that is their ambitions. So we are providing our technology to provide that provided to the Mandalay cities. So actually, this is good for both citizens and government as well. Now, because of Mandalay Smart Pay, the Mandalay citizen can pay all the bills, all the MCDC related bills online now, right? So they don't have to go to like government office to pay the bills. So they can enjoy. They just from the few clicks they can make the payments. From the government point of view, it will help them to speed up to go to e-government, right? Because now they see how the transaction can come in, how we can effectively collect the bills, how the so it is more effective, and then the speed is faster. So that is good for the government as well. So that is a benefit everyone is seeing in Mandalay. So that is what we want to offer to the population in Myanmar. So that is the directions we want to go. We want to promote the online payments everywhere.
Thank you, Bupin. And you mentioned quite a lot of things about use cases, bills, top-ups, peer-to-peer transfers, and providing convenience to the end customers. So Jess from OK Dollar, OK Dollar has been around for a while. In fact, I would say that OK Dollar was probably one of the first players to move into this payments industry. And talking about use cases, could you also share your perspective on what are some of the use cases that you saw when you launched, and what are some of the use cases now, and how that evolved over time? And my follow-on question to that is, how is OK Dollar differentiating itself against other competitors? Because this payment space is quite a saturated market as of today.
Well, thank you, Koyem and Min. First and foremost, thank you for inviting Ukidola to participate in the discussion. It's my privilege to share my experiences here. Okay, so coming to the question on how Ukidola has evolved in the recent years. Ukidola has started operating since 2015. At the very beginning, we started with P2P transfer and teleco top-up services, which are still in the very good number of mostly used cases yet today. By the end of year 2018, Ukidola had much less of subscriber compared to today, since at that time there were not much of digital services and not many cash-in points either. Then by the start of year 2019, we started some collaboration with some government organization to use their network as a, so we proposed them to recruit their existing network as Ukidola agent. And we also start integrating with some private bank to be enabled to do the cash-in their respective branches. On the other hand, in the app side, we also started expanding our digital services by integrating more and more value-added services. So since then, the number of Ukidola subscriber has emerged, and it has now come to 2 million subscriber. So coming to the second question on how Ukidola differentiate itself against other players. So unlike with other mobile payment company, since the start of Ukidola, we have not been much emphasizing on the OTC remittance. We have been mostly emphasizing on the service parts. We have always been trying to expand more and more services, and our main objective is like to be one-stop service. So we just trying to expand more and more services to reach that level where our user will not need to think about doing the cash out. So that is how I differentiate Ukidola with other players. Thank you.
Thank you, Gurjas. And just because I'm always interested in statistics, you mentioned 2 million subscribers in Ukidola as of today. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true.
Awesome. Awesome, great, thank you.
All these 2 million subscriber users are like a wallet-based user.
I see, amazing. Thank you very much. Matt, Amy, good morning. So I think out of all the payment players that I've spoken to so far, Ongo probably is one of the only ones that's focusing a lot on business-to-business use cases. Could you share with the audience what are some of the key business activities and services that Ongo is offering to its business customers? And also in that particular B2B segment, what are some of the use cases and what are some of the gaps that you see in the market in the last couple of years?
Sure. First, thank you for having me here today, and let me share my thoughts and perspective in this fine morning. So good morning, everyone. Ongo started in Myanmar since 2017. So we are a latecomer, and also we have been actively operating only in the last 3 years. So we started our business strategy by focusing B2B, as you mentioned. So we support the digitalization of the client businesses for safer and more efficient operations. So now Ongo become the market-leading digital B2B business services in Myanmar, providing service across 14 divisions, 287 townships through nearly 10,000 agent points. So even we focus B2B at the start, our aim really is always to reach out to our consumer through our corporate clients, using the top-down approach rather than gaining the consumer and going bottom up. So we have right now, like just mentioned, we are not like early comer like Ukidola. We only have like 1.1 million active user as of today. So out of which more than 50% gains through our B2B client channel. So basically, they have like 5 or 6 transactions monthly with our corporate clients on top of their consumer product transactions like P2P, airtime top-up, and other online payments. So in terms of business activity, we have like 4 pillars. So FMCG, digital lending, digital services, and of course, the consumer product pillar. We started in FMCG space, then we expanded into microfinance like last 1.5 years ago, and we are providing most of the top 20 microfinance company in Myanmar. And we start having a momentum in our digitalization sectors. So now we are focusing more on the consumer side, like working together with the government in terms of lending, in terms of government payroll and relief programs. So we work on this during the COVID period. So we provide full business cycle financial services to our corporate client, from collection, supplier payments, payroll, even the petty cash payments. So we have both apps and non-apps options as an operation model, because we need to provide 100% digitalization for our business client. But some of our client consumer might be prefer using OTC rather than the app. So we have to provide both solutions. From our experience from the past, what we have seen is the evolution of customer behavior that reflects to the needs as well as the context. So even more so with the COVID situation right now, people are more open to the idea of digitalization than before, but they still have a trust issue. So they tend to accept something familiar or with some good reference rather than trying out on new service product or even the service provider. So they need to, from our experience, what we see is they need to get used to with the idea first. So that's why, in Ongo, we always have a two-phase program. So instead of getting all our clients, consumer, using the app at the initial point of onboarding, what we did is we provide a choice to them. So either apps or OTC solution for them. Once they're getting used to with the Ongo, then we convert them from OTC to the app user. So as you all know, we have a less visibility. We didn't spend much on marketing and advertising. We started with a very small but unique network. In the past 3 years, while we're servicing B2B, we did build up the network and operational infrastructure to move to our next step, which is a consumer market. That's what we are, and we will be investing more in the later few years using the use case of our businesses and the consumer that we gain through our corporate channels.
Thank you. You mentioned that you are doing a two-phase approach where you're converting, you're giving a choice to the consumer really, whether they want to use OTC first or the app first. Do you see the process of converting from OTC to the app being an expensive process?
Sorry, again, the last part.
Yes. Do you see that conversion between, getting a customer from using OTC into using an app being an expensive process for organizations like yours?
For us, the approach that we are using is, it's not expensive, but it's more time consuming and the effort that we need to put it in. But I think it's a lot easier and it's better for the consumer because we are educating the consumer. We're letting them having the experience of using the digitalization journey before they start using the app. So we have a time to educate the consumer, I would say. So we need to educate the consumer, share the knowledge to change the consumer behavior. So we believe in that process. So in terms of monetary value, it's time consuming. It depends how you manage it. It's not really expensive, but it's a time consuming approach, and you need a patience. You need to have patience. So of course we have an aim like we need to hit a consumer app user like 3 million and 2 million by 3 years or 2 years, but this didn't happen. Our target never happened in terms of the app user because we need to give a time to the consumer. So, but it will become like that conversion process has become like that consumer are part of our network and part of our family rather than that we go and approach the plain on the road consumer. We did have that direct channel though, but what success and what retained our consumer is those consumer that we gain through via the indirect channel rather than the direct channels.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it. Thank you for your thoughts. Goes on into MPU. Let's talk about MPU. MPU, obviously everybody knows who MPU is, so that will not need any introduction. But MPU plays a huge role in interoperability, from enabling different ATMs to work with different issuers. To recently, I noticed that you've launched an interbank fund transfer, which I believe will solve a lot of the pain points that many businesses and individuals are having today. And interoperability is also a very common topic in all of the previous panels that we discussed as being a key barrier to increasing financial inclusion, to increasing usage adoption, etc. In your opinion, what are some of the key barriers and challenges that you see in making sure that we have an increase interoperability between different providers?
Okay, thank you. And let me of course, you're talking about everybody know MPU, and then but most people only know about MPU is like interoperable ATM. But MPU is not only interoperable ATM. MPU is also interoperable POS channel and also the e-commerce channel. We have it. So we have three channels, the like ATM, POS, and e-commerce, and all other into the MPU product can use the entire system to transact with the different, the merchant and different issuer and different, the online player as well. As everybody knows why the interop is very important, like, the silo system in the payment industry, everybody talk about, the interop because the silo system is not successful in the long run. Only the interop, that can success for the payment industry for the long run. Because if the silo system consumer, the side of consumer, it is very complicated and not easy and not convenient at all. On the merchant side as well, if like, silo system that merchant need to install, like if POS different POS system, if QR different QR system, that is not, workable, and this is not solution for the convenience to use for the consumer and merchant as well. So that's why, the interop is very important nowadays, and everybody talk about interop. And the barriers what we understand. So we have now the MPU. We have now 30 members, and 20 members are 21 members are actively participating, and the 9 members are in the process of trying to do the technically trying to the system. The main barrier what we see our experience is the same technical barriers, because different institutions, different banks, they use different system, and they need to integrate with us, and at the same time because of the technical support and the vendor the support, the integration to the system is a little bit difficult, and also especially enhancing the new products. Like now IBF we launched, and then only participating is only now 8 banks only. The rest of the banks are still like struggling with their vendor, and then the having some difficulty to talk with their vendor for the technical issue, cost issue, and so on and so forth. And the second one is the stakeholder participation, meaning like the banks and institutions, they need commitment, and they really understand about the interop is good for their business. But some participants they really not they understand, and they're not aware of the benefit of interop. They are thinking that they are going to share their, the consumer, they are going to share their resources. So it is not true that, the interop is like, if they are willing to share their resources, and then the transaction, they are more, they will get more transaction from the difference, is the consumer and different merchant as well. So that the benefit they need to understand. So only 2 things what according to my experience, it's like technical barriers and the stakeholder commitment and participation is required.
Thank you. I have a follow-on question to what you have just mentioned. Do you think there's also a huge role from the regulator to enforce interop? For example, in the UK, there's a payment directive which requires all the banks, all the different ecosystem players to basically enforce them to participate in this interop, right? And basically what the regulator did is they not only enforce it, but they also gave a deadline for everyone to participate. Do you think something like that is much needed in Myanmar?
Actually, our regulator is very good and support to, participate for this interop. Like, they issue so many directive and notification to all the banks and, the player, like, what they have to be done and what have to be, they follow. And so whatever, the sometimes I agree with you that the enforce the regulation, but in terms of enforcement, it's also required, So whatever, like, regulator issue the letter and the regulation and so on, but the only thing is the participant, the government, and they need to understand the benefits. Otherwise, it would, however, they enforce and they do regulation. Some players are not following, and then there is no enforcement, then it will not work.
Yep, got it. Thank you. To actually Jess and Amy, and this is probably going to be a bit of a difficult question. And one of the earlier panels that we had, one of the regulators who attended mentioned that they're working on things such as CBM Net, which would increase this interop, MMQR, real-time retail payments, and that they're also expecting to launch some of these very, very soon. And I believe there's an ongoing tender that some of the participants in this panel are also participating. What is the potential impact of such systems on the overall mobile wallet as well as the payments industry? What are your thoughts? And please.
Shall I go first? Or
yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Maybe ladies first. Do you want to go ahead first?
So, I mean, interoperability is a good thing, like Goes On Internet mentioned, but we need a collective effort. The people need to understand that interoperability is important for financial inclusion, since interoperability introduce economy of scale and scope, as well as bigger network effects, and provide accessibility to the larger base consumers. As our chairman always say that our biggest competitor is cash. So by having interoperability, we will have a better cooperation among service provider and able to provide a solution to a wider audience and wider consumer base. But the challenge here is the collected effort. So getting to yes from all people, it's difficult. It's need a push and it's need a support from all the stakeholders, mainly and especially like Goyamya just now mentioned, the enforcement from the government. It needed. If without that, it won't happen. So, and also the timing is an issue. We've been talking about interoperability since like some times ago. And so my questions towards our action on interoperability really is, are we moving quick enough? Or are we moving collective enough? So that is my question on interoperability. But on MMQR, I have a different perspective. So MMQR support financial inclusion, of course, but it's not the main solution for digitalization of financial services, in my opinion. The biggest issue for our digitalization here in Myanmar, I see, is like people prefer to use OTC rather than apps. So that is the main issue. We can't scale e-commerce using cash on delivery. We can only go so far with OTC. So for me, digital platform is a vessel to support sustainable financial inclusion, which will support to reduce the poverty of the country. So digitalization is a way of banking the unbanked. So in Myanmar, majority of the percentage of population are lacking access to formal financial service. So I mean, that's my take on interoperability and MMQR.
Jess.
Okay. This MMQR and RTRP, it's really a good and significant project which will be done. The sooner the better for us. So no mobile payment players will need to much emphasize on the merchant sides. So in the perspective of merchant sites also, all the payment platforms will be uniform to them. And most importantly is like it will bring the trust which most of the merchant had been worrying about in the past.
Yep.
But there's one thing, the pricing on MDR should be very favorable. So that is important.
Yeah, Actually, Jess, you touch on a good point, which has also been a topic actually in our first panel because, well, the first panel was focusing more on merchants. Actually, MDR rate is one of the top things that is preventing merchants from coming online.
Exactly.
So based on my learning, there are two key factors. Number one is how come the MDR rate for online payments and offline payments are different? Number one, because from a cost perspective, it's a payment, it's a transaction, it's the same. So why is it different?
Yes.
And second, how come there are also varying MDR even if between different online businesses and different offline businesses? So that's number one key barrier that we've learned in these panels. The second one is really, I feel, merchant support. So for example, without MMQR, for example, merchants literally will, when we walk into a store, we'll see a huge amount of QR codes pasted on the wall. And that's very painful. Even what's more painful is the merchant will have to consolidate 9 or 10 different wallets into
wallet. Exactly.
Right.
It's not uniform.
It's not easy. So one of the points that was raised was, well, this whole digital payments is supposed to solve my problem, but how come I have more problems when I adopt them? Right? And until I agree with my Amy, so until we can solve that very pain point, it's going to be very difficult for both merchants and consumers to adapt.
Exactly.
It's really,
it's really good that the regulators are working on MMQR and RDRB to be uniform, as mentioned. Before this MMQR topic was not published, we had been discussing with some mobile payment company on the merchant acquiring. If it has to be done by ourselves, it will not be an easy task to standardize all the integration with all the payment companies. So that's why we hope the MMQR project to be launched very soon.
There's also been a recent type of license, I guess, for merchant acquiring.
There's been acquiring license,
right? Actually, Gosalinda, what do you think will be the impact of such license? What do you think what will happen to the industry for that?
So let me add on this MMQR project because I'm also one of the members in MMQR project. So MMQR is the central bank is working very hard, and this is because of this COVID and this and that, and then there is not the process. The time frame is a little bit slow, and hopefully, I think maybe they can announce of the successful panda in this year, and they can launch the MMQR project in the early or next year. Also the MMQR project, the banks and all the payment players, and also the mobile, the key mobile wallet are also participating for this project. They do set the standardization process. They do set the standardization process. So I hope that we can in Myanmar we will have this MMQR and very soon. So for the regarding about the acquiring the license, it is the currently it's now for the card payment, only allow the bank to acquire the merchants. So there is no name bank, they not allow name bank to acquire the merchant as the third party acquirer. Because there is no regulation, this and that, because we have some settlement rates and some dispute mechanism and some sort of regulation. That's why central banks issue now the third party acquire license for the name banks to acquire the merchant, to protect the consumer transaction and to protect the merchant settlement as well. So what the impact is like, the banks they have the different many business portfolio. They can emphasize on the merchant acquisition and the merchants I'm not saying they are not doing, but they are doing, but they can emphasize more the merchant complaint merchant the acquisition in the very much retail, you know, and the ma and pep shop like to be near me. You know, they have, you know, the so many ma and pep shop, the acquirer, right? So the bank, they are not, you know, doing this type of things, you know. So that's why, you know, central banks, you know, consider, you know, to expand the acceptance network. So we need to allow the third party acquirer like them who can, you know, focus only this business. So because of this, like, you know, a lot the acceptance, you know, currently, like, you know, we our MPU network, we only have, you know, acceptance point is 24,000 plus only. So if like that party acquirer coming in, then, you know, I think maybe within a year it can be like, you know, 100,000 or 200,000. So this is benefit for, like, you know, the non-cash transaction, and also benefit for our the gap user as well. At this point of time, you know, our enemy is cash. We are not competing each other. So this time we have to compete with the cash.
Okay, very much agree. Talking about competitors, the next topic that I want to touch upon is remittance, in particular cross-border remittance. It's been a topic that I'm personally interested in, that I'm following quite a lot. So according to UNCDF, there are 4.25 million Myanmar immigrants living abroad across the world. Collectively, on a yearly basis, they send back approximately $2.8 billion, but only using official channels, right? And of course, as we all know, there are always unofficial Hundi networks that are, you know, transferring money in and out of the country. So we don't know the unofficial numbers. Actually, I try to find on different sources, but nobody knows. However, I feel that this unofficial Hundi networks, etc., unofficial means of doing cross-border remittance is truly a competitor to anyone doing remittance, really. Right? So, Pupiangain, actually, because in 2019 August, TUSI launched a cross-border remittance service called Easy to Send, which is not just focused in Myanmar, but across the Southeast Asian region. So you're working with companies such as Wing Money from Cambodia, CB Bank also participated from Myanmar, Coco Bay from Thailand, Light Bay from China. In your opinion, what are the challenges in promoting formal and legal remittance services as opposed to these Hundi networks, and what can we do to tackle this issue of Hundi networks?
Okay, thanks, Koya Myanmar. So in 2018, we get the international remittance license in Thailand. So we launched our pilot program called Easy to Send in 2019. And then we are working with like partners in Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, and other countries to pilot that international remittance. So I would like to share what we have learned from the market, right? So first of all, we need to understand how the Hundi system works, because this is a current system that people are using. So before 2015, there are a lot of I'm talking about Myanmar and Thailand, right? Because there are a lot of Myanmar migrants workers working in Thailand. So before 2015, those migrants workers does not have the legal documents or legal status in Thailand. So, but they have a need to transfer money back to their families in Myanmar, but there's no legal way, or there's no options for them to go through the formal way to transfer the money back. The first thing is there's no convenience, and there's no legal system, and there's no even if there's a legal system, the cost is quite high. So that's why the Hundi service came in to fulfill the market demands. So, but the Hundi system was there quite a long time now. It is very mature, so, and very convenient for the customer who are using that, because I mean, they just need the one phone call to transfer the money back to the families in the countries. So they don't have to go to banks, they don't have to go to anywhere. It is time saving. And then sometimes they don't even need to transfer the money before the family receives the money back in Myanmar. So it is very convenient for them. So, but start from 2015, the migrants worker in Thailand, they got the legal documents, they got the legal status, and then also they are like government to government program. So the Myanmar government sent workers to country like Korea, Malaysia, and those workers, they have their bank accounts back in Myanmar, and then they have the legal system. So, but still, most of them are still using like Hondi system because of those convenience. And then these migrant workers are very sensitive to pricing as well, because I mean, before they transfer money, they will check every pricings, and then they will choose whoever who is most pay the most rates, right? So in order to replace that, so we need to legalize that system, right? So in order to legalize that, we shouldn't attack the existing system. We should bring into those people into the legal framework, and then offer them to work in the legal way, it's like proper way. So the risk will be lower for both service provider and the customers. So recently, Central Bank of Myanmar introduced the international remittance license. I think it is a very good steps going towards the legalized way. So what we can suggest is we can bring in those Hondi agents to came into the regulated areas, and then at the same time, we need to offer the same convenience and same competitive pricings to the customer, so the customer will use our service to enjoying the same status of convenience and pricings. And the pricing is the main factors. So currently, as you already know, right, if you have an experience transferring from one country to another, you have to go through a lot of steps, and there are a lot of layers, make that transaction very expensive. So that's why that with this current legacy system, we cannot compete with the Hondi, right? Because Hondi, I mean, the pricing is very competitive. So we need to think about the new technology, and probably the banks have to partner with new partners to go without leaving that legacy system to reduce the cost. So only then we can bring those customers and agents into our legalized system. Another thing is security and fraud, right? Because I mean, everybody knows that they are eventually, because not all the Hondi agents and are evils, right? They are just fulfilling the demands of their customers. But some in 1 year, they are like one or three, 2 or 4 cases, like agents run away with the customer monies, right? But because of the market is too segmented, right? Because it's too segmented, because they are like, when we research the markets, there are 2 types of Hondi system, right? One is for the high-end customers, like they transfer big money, but some, another tier is a small customer base, so like one agent serving like 20 to 100 customers, right? Because the segmentation is very small. Even though there's a one fraud case there, people in other area would not know, right? So they are not aware of the risk, and they are not aware of the fraud that happening in that system until it hits them or someone close to them. So we need to educate to the customers that this is a proper way to transfer the money with the same convenience and same lower rate. So I think that is a main key to legalize the international remittance system. And only then, both if when we see the actual figures, we can do something about that, right?
Yeah. I think one of the key challenges that not just in Myanmar, as we also spoke offline, that other countries are facing is nobody knows what the illegal money transfer market looks like. Nobody really has a full picture on how big or how small that market really is. So it's hard to say. You mentioned quite a bit about legacy systems, and I've also been following companies such as Ripple, who basically is built upon a blockchain technology. Do you think companies like that would help leapfrog this transition?
Yeah, I think that is something that regulators should consider. So I mean, if we have a system that is costly and have to go through a lot of layers, then we might have to think about the new technology. I'm not saying cryptocurrency or anything, but there's a new technology that will be secure and that will be cost effective for everyone involved, right? Yes.
Thank you. I think we have about 10 minutes. So I have one more question, and then we'll get into questions from the audience. There's already some very interesting questions lining up. The online payments and mobile money market skyrocketed, I believe, in the last 3-4 years. In last year, in 2019, Wave Money reported that Wave Money alone transacted a total volume of $4.3 billion in just 1 year, which represents more than 6% of the country's overall GDP. While this is a very good number and a huge number, I think there's still a lot more work to do, because if we look at countries such as Kenya, there were more than $43 billion worth of transactions going through the digital ecosystem, which represents 43% already of Kenya's GDP, right? I think as a country, that's what we should aim for, if not even higher. So in that perspective, and this is a question to all panelists, what is the road ahead for all of us? What must we do? What are the areas that we need to focus on to increase adoption massively? In the previous discussion, there's a lot of talk about financial literacy, digital literacy, etc. So I'm very interested to hear thoughts around what are the activities that each and every one of us must do collectively, as what one of the panelists have mentioned. Please do share me your thoughts. Maybe let's start with Gozalinta.
According to the data, the record, the transaction record, and the last basically we transact the 1,300 over billion, Myanmar jet. No, we are not talking about US dollar, and number of transaction is they may be 12 to 30 million transaction. So this is like we transact all for ATM, POS, and e-commerce. Then this compared with the what we established in 2012, it is maybe 10 more than 10 to 20 times increasing over the 7-year trend. So compared with the after Telco open in 2015, then the volume is increasing 8 to 10 times. So gradually, the people are willing to transact with the former the channel through the internet, online, and mobile and digital things. So the only thing is for financial inclusion is now OK Dollar or Ongo or whatever Wave or these wallet player are more wallet player in the market. It is both for the financial inclusion, but very easy to, because everybody have phone and very easy to open the wallet account account. So the only thing is the observation is accessibility is and convenient is the major challenge. Of course, people talk about the lifetime education, awareness, and that. But most people nowadays are, the awareness and education, But of course, we need to some extent to educate and more the awareness campaign. On the follow-up of the awareness and education campaign, we need to follow up them to access the formal financial sector. Otherwise, we give so many awareness, and education campaign, then there is no access to, to open the bank account, or open the wallet, or open the formal financial transaction. It is no use as well. So that area is the accessibility is also the important things, for the future of the digital payment.
Any other thoughts from the other panelists?
Okay, so the area that we must focus on to increase the adoption to digital literacy, I will say we should focus on the payment related to government organization to be brought to digital platform. You know, it is one of the best and easiest way to impress the user to adopt the digital payments, and it will also bring the trust. Just make the payment by going nowhere. So user will easily adopt it. Normally, what user doing, like they have to go either to the state-owned bank, or either they have to go to the respective government organization just to make a payment or just to pay a tax or something. So I think if we could broad all these government related payment to digital platform, user adoption to the digital literacy will enormously increase. As most of the payment company have already been experiencing it with some of the government project in the past.
Yep, and also recently with COVID, I think that accelerated this process as well. Yeah, yes. which is great to see, actually.
Which is really great. Yeah.
The other thing that was mentioned in one of the last panels was also limitations, right? So, for example, particularly talking about mobile wallets, there's always a limit on how much money you can put in your wallet and how much the volume of transaction that a person can transact on a daily basis, right? And for some use cases, such limitations are too small for business users, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe perhaps by actually increasing that limitation, we could also see more use cases coming into the system.
Exactly. As mobile wallet, yes. We mainly emphasize on micro transaction, and whether there another kind of big transition has to came, we also recommend to use the bank channel. As we are the mobile wallet, we emphasize on the micro transaction level.
Yep. Thank you. Amy, yes.
So I mean, I agree with the panels, what they are saying in terms of conveniency and the knowledge on the availability of service, government push and everything. And also, I think that the literacy, the knowledge and awareness is very important because, for example, like we are dealing with most of the in Ongo, most of the users are like microfinance consumers and borrowers. So the age portfolio is not in a generation Z or even millennials. So they are like, they need time to get used to it and they need to be aware of the service availability. So that is, I think, as a service provider, is our accountability towards our customers. So of course there are, the governments and the NGOs and the others that educating and providing financial literacy, but still the financial literacy is still needed to reach those areas and those level of, we cannot just assume that everyone has a mobile and everyone is get used to it because of the technology and change in market. So there are still that a lot of people that is not reached, this level of knowledge is not reached. So that is still important in my opinion. So I mean, and so we take engagement very seriously in Ongo. So before we launch operations or a product, we have a painful exercise sessions of engagement. Even for a microfinance company. So we need to educate the borrower, not to promote our service, but more to promote digitalizations and what digitalization could do for them. What are the assets and benefit that they can get from digitalization? So that's the only thing that I need to add on from the previous panel's comment.
Thank you. Since we are running out of time, Gopinath, if you don't mind, I'd like to move it on to a very quick Q&A.
Sure.
That's okay. Thank you. Because in particular, there's one question that is very interesting, will be very interesting to our audience. So T Chang from Ascent Capital asked, there seem to be a very large number of operators in this space, in the payment space. And a question to all panelists, do anybody foresee consolidation? And if so, in what time frame? Tough question. Anybody wants to tackle?
Yeah, sure. Well, so I mean, yeah, there are a lot of mobile service providers, and that interoperability is the one thing that can bring everyone together. So you know, it's as we mentioned with recent events and current market, the competitor is, you know, as MPU mentions, and as I mentioned before, our competitor is cash. It's not really each other. So we need to have a synergy effect. So, you know, I've been talking with True Money, Wave Money to come together and to see where is our common goal and area that we can work together. But for that to happen, I think it's not just the, you know, push from the government and not just a push from the stakeholder, but it's also the acceptance of everyone, you know, so that working groups and working towards on interoperability, it's good. That it's a way of coming all together. So in a session like this, it's a way of coming all together. So I don't know the time frame. That's why when I put it in my previous comment that time, I don't know how quick we can come together and how collective we can be. So I don't have a direct answer for that, but I think that is needed, and that is happening in recent era. You know, not like in past. So past, everyone is concerned about their profit and their space and not let anyone to go into their space. But now the mindset of the mobile money operator in Myanmar also changed, because market become a little bit more mature, and they also understand that what is really happening in market, what consumer needed. So I think it will happen, but I don't know when. And but definitely session like this and the working groups that government form is it's a platform towards those goals. So.
Thank you. Koh Bien Yin, did you want to add on anything? Particularly also because you recently raised some money, so it'd be interesting to hear from you as well.
Okay, so yeah, there are a lot of mobile operators and mobile wallets in the market, but the thing is we don't have enough use cases, right? So we need the customer, like all the mobile wallet customer, to provide enough use case to spend their money from the wallet, so they don't have to cash out from their mobile wallets. So once the money come in, there are a lot of use case enough for them to use those money digitally without taking out. So only then the push to digital payments will be faster. So I mean, as I mentioned, that in NEAMI, so NEAMI provide the e-payment platforms for the SME, retails, and mom and pop shops. So they don't need all the QR codes for every wallet. So they are working with currently quite a number of wallets right now. So those wallet customer can come in, and then the store owners or the SME, the cashier, they just use the NEAMI machines to scan those QR code and then accept the payments. So that is what we are pushing for the online payment. So from 2C2P on our payment gateway, we accept almost all the mobile wallets in Myanmar. So the customer can pay mobile wallet transactions. They can make the e-commerce transaction through their mobile wallet as well. So that is something that we are pushing from our side. And also, like, because in order to push online payments, the cost is the main things as well. So I think we need to provide the local transactions, like kind of like MPU. So if we enable a lot of merchants to accept to accept the MPU cards, then because MPU is a local card scheme, so the rate is much lower than the international card scheme. So that is something that we need to push. So I think Ko Solintot mentioned that in the previous discussion about the merchant acquiring license. So that is what the central bank is pushing as well. So I think we are going into the right directions.
I think let me add a few things that that like Amy mentioned and Koh Bien Yin mentioned is very right direction. And then, of course, like for consolidation, the step, like what we always present to the government and regulator that government should start initiate, these, the some sort of regulation for consolidation or, interoperability, and with the some incentive. So the best example is like the Korea, the Korea, like, they give it the some sort of like, tax incentive to the digital, acceptance merchant and digital pay with the consumer. So that, like, a lot of people are willing to, use more digitally. So in terms of, like, the government also can collect, all the tax, fully tax, collection, and then also the government no need to pay the now what we call it stamp, right? So now every time when we always, the purchase, the commercial tax have to be, the same stamp to stick on the, the receipt voucher, right? If digitally government can reduce all the costs, and then giving some tax the incentive to the market, then it can be pushed. And then also the time frame is very hard, like agree with Matt Amy. Then the only thing is, like, the now the cash stream, we have the same domestic interop. For mobile, we need some sort of the interop, like MM2 Express coming in. So one comments are also, like, the time frame, I think maybe within one year or 2 years is, like, it is like very positive view, but it is will not happen, like, consolidation will happen very short time frame. I think maybe we have to go through 3 to 5 years. This is my opinion.
Thank you all panelists. I think we're out of time, so I'll just do a very quick summary and we can call it a day. So I just want to share with the audience on a couple of the key takeaways that I noted down on a little notebook. Number one is that it's not expensive but time consuming to transform people from using OTC remittance to using an app-based transfer, which will open up a lot of more opportunities for them to use digital services. The second key takeaway is in terms of interop. The key barrier and why it is so hard is because, number one, we need stakeholder commitment from all parties involved. That means the entire ecosystem, basically. Everybody needs to be committed to making this interop work, number one. Number two, there's also a technology barrier because different providers could be using different vendors, different technology stack, and putting all together in the same room is a difficult task. Number three is merchant acquiring license for non-banks and third parties is also much needed in the ecosystem to accelerate onboarding of merchants, onboarding of customers to the next level. And lastly, in terms of cross-border remittance, I think the most important thing is that the alternative, the legal and formal ways of remitting money must be as convenient and as affordable or as cheap as the Hondi network. Otherwise, we would not be able to compete with the Hondi network. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in today, and well, see you next time. Thank you very much. And thank you to all panelists for giving your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You too.